International military operations began in Libya back in March. The very first airstrikes, led by Britain, France and the United States, were carried out to protect civilians in Benghazi. Shortly afterwards, though, NATO assumed control of the entire operation. Since that point, more than 10,000 sorties have been flown, 4,000 of them actual strike missions. Britain's military has been heavily involved with Tornado, Typhoon, even surveillance aircraft, together racking up more than 3,500 flying hours over 1,200 sorties. But they've actually only engaged around 350 targets, and at what cost? Well, all the way back in March, the Chancellor said Britain's involvement would number in the tens of millions. But by the end of April, it was, as you can see, as much as £300 million and increasing by up to £38 million a week. If, as expected, operations continue into the autumn, the total bill could hit £1 billion. So where exactly has all the money been going? Take the Tomahawk cruise missile, for example, launched from British submarines. That costs an estimated £1 million a go. The Sentinel spy plane costs £33,000 an hour just to keep it in the air. It's a similar amount to keep the Tornado flying, with the Typhoon costing £70,000 an hour to fly. British pilots based in Italy are racking up big costs too. No aircraft carrier means service personnel have been staying in hotels at an estimated cost of £40,000 a night. So given the costs and the cuts to the armed forces, just how long can Britain stay involved in Libya? According to the First Sea Lords, if we do it longer than 6 months, we will have to reprioritise forces. That is being addressed now. It could be from around home waters. That means yet more pressure on the Navy, already depleted by the Defence Review and clearly stretched by Libya, amongst other commitments.
So while the deficit is temporary, cuts in military capability are permanent. And that's why the government has to pause, think again, get out of this kind of denial mentality and just do what the country expects. Now that the evidence has changed, now that events have changed, let's have a fresh look at the Defence Review.
That seems unlikely to happen. So much political capital already spent defending the decision to scrap Ark Royal. The Apache attack helicopter, which recently flew its first mission over Libya, affords the NATO planners greater precision in their strikes. Yet the Harriers, which once flew from Ark Royal's deck, would have been ideal for this type of mission and less expensive.
If we had an aircraft carrier, HMS Ark Royal and its Harriers, we would have been cycling aircraft through Libya at a much greater rate than we are now. We'd also have had the weapons for it, for dealing with urban situations and for discrete targets. That was a decision that was made during the Strategic Defence and Security Review. I think the assumptions were flawed.
That continues to be the Ministry of Defence's biggest problem, that everything they do militarily is viewed through the prism of the Defence Review, fighting a PR battle whilst in the middle of combat. The Libyan capital, Tripoli, is now the mission's main target. Locations across the city have been constantly bombarded. In April, a house near Gaddafi's main base was attacked, killing one of his sons and 3 of his grandchildren. A large military storage facility has been struck time and time again. And the leader himself appears to have been the focus of attacks, with his main compound right in the heart of the capital, the fortified Bab al-Aziz Zial complex, being hit many times.